Hi, good morning. Welcome to another fantastic edition of Wedding Wednesday. So happy to see you all again. If you have questions or comments, please make sure you just put them in on the comment section over there and I'll try to answer them. Alternatively, thank you for all of you that will be joining us. Hopefully we can answer some questions or talk about some of the things that are concerning you right now. So, big topic today for us is going to be all of the stuff that's going on in the media right now regarding the Dominican Republic. And I'm not an authority, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an authority on tourism in the Dominican Republic or anywhere else, but I wanted to have a moment to just talk about this because it's something that a lot of our clients or potential clients are discussing with us. So I thought it might be something that'd be good to bring to light and just kind of share some of our experience. And hopefully that will be able to help you with your decisions on whether or not it's a good idea to travel. So a lot of the stories that are coming out regarding some of the things that have been happening in the Punta Cana area, I wasn't there. I am not a first-hand witness to any of this. I don't know what happened, and I really don't believe that the majority of us are going to know what happened, unless of course you were actually physically there. There's so many things that will sway everybody's opinion and perception. So I think we could just all agree that we probably aren't going to know, but I think there's some things that we need to discuss. So I have no agenda here. I do operate a business for the last 3 years in the Dominican Republic, but as I said, I'm not an authority. Live there. I'm just a mom. I have 3 children, grown children. I have a 4-year-old grandson. I'm not a risk taker. I've never jumped out of an airplane. I've never, done any of those crazy things that people do. I think they're crazy. You might not. But again, perception, right? So my point from all of this really does come from a place of somebody who thinks things through and doesn't participate in risky behavior. And I can honestly tell you that I find no problem with the Dominican Republic. I, as I said, live there, have friends there, both Dominicans and non-Dominican residents who have lived there for a long time. And the majority of people I know have never had a moment's problem in the Dominican Republic. So let's just see. I wanted to address some of the things that are happening and why they might be happening. So I went to a J.T. Fox seminar a little while back. If you don't know who J.T. Fox is, he's amazing. I highly recommend you check him out. Great speaker, incredible businessman. So definitely check him out. But he said something there that made some sense to me. And he said that as a whole, if we're going to generalize, Canadians are skeptical and Americans are afraid. So those words, skeptical and afraid. Canadians tend to question everything and believe everything is a conspiracy and everybody's out to get them. So that kind of works into the Canadian mindset. And since 9/11, hi Shannon, nice to see you. Since 9/11, Americans have been afraid of everything. And it really falls into the idea of the whole media's concept of if it bleeds, it leads. So if the story has fear, has any kind of society concern, then it's something that they will lead with. It sells papers, it sells ad space, it sells all of the components. It keeps you watching the network. Not saying it's not real, just saying that it is something that happens in the media, and so therefore we're kind of attached to it. So I'm not going to give you a chance. I'm not going to try to change your mind. That's not my job. But I'm going to give you examples of why you shouldn't maybe buy into some of the fear mongering that's happening. First of all, Dominican Republic is a very, very poor country. So it does rely heavily on tourism. It really does. So I just want you to put your heart and your belief systems aside, put them over there for just a minute, shut your whole entire brain off. Stop thinking about your rebuttal to the concept of logic, okay? For just a quick second. So I want you to think about this. tourism is an important sector. I've actually taken this information right off a tourism website. Tourism is an important sector in the Dominican Republic's economy with over 6 million tourist arrivals each year. The industry accounts for 11.6% of the nation's GDP. Okay, so right there, 11.6%, and I think this is actually a 2017 stat. So 11.6% of the GDP of the Dominican Republic is based on tourism. That's huge, right? So think about that for a second. And now, again, keeping your mind completely open to just logic and nothing else, I want you to ask yourself this question. Why would a country with such a need for tourism and financial gain that it brings deliberately start killing tourists? Why would these people eliminate their own income? It doesn't make sense, does it? If you look at it just from a logical standpoint, not your belief system, not your heart, not what your neighbor told you, not what Fox News is telling you, but just your head. Think about that for just a minute, okay? Also think about the hotels. So these hotels are run by people. These people make money based on tourists, and the tourists that come to stay there and spend their money in the hotel and spend their money in the community. They also rely on these tourists to give great reviews, and hopefully that will correspond with more tourism into that particular hotel from the reviews, okay? So logically, what do the hotels have to gain by killing tourists? Doesn't make sense, does it? Right? Why would hotels, or the people that work in these hotels that are given tips, that pay for groceries for their family, pay for rent, pay for gasoline, pay for their luxuries and Presidente, let's face it, why would these people beat up tourists? Why would these people poison tourists? I just can't get my head around it. So if anybody has any solutions or answers to that one, I would be happy to hear what you had to say, because it doesn't make sense to me, okay? So I want you just to stop, think, and assess this in your own mind and see if it makes sense, or if it's an opinion or a fact, okay? So I've lived and worked in the Dominican Republic. I have been stopped by the police. I have been out after dark. I have traveled alone as a Caucasian middle-aged woman all over the island. I have traveled with other women. We did not have a man or a weapon, and I have had no issues, okay? Not one. Was I lucky? Maybe. I don't know. I can honestly say I've never had any issues in Canada. I've never had any issues in the United States. I have not had any issues in Cuba or Mexico. I have not had any issues. So probably not just an isolated incident of the DR being extremely kind to me as a human being, right? So this has been going on for 14 years. You could say if it was, 12 years or less, and I'm being funny, obviously it might be a coincidence, but it's a long time for me to be tooting about the Dominican Republic and not having any issues. So think about that as well. This is also the case with the majority of the people that I know that live there. They're not, both the Dominican people and the non-Dominican local people, most of them have not had any issues, okay? So I'll just tell you a quick story. Back in 2016, we had a really bad fall in regards to rain in the Dominican Republic, and it was flooding everywhere. So myself and a friend, Jackie, and another friend, Diane, I had a business meeting in Punta Cana. I live in the Puerto Plata area. Decided to travel to Punta Cana, do my business meeting. Jackie had never been and wanted to go, and same as Diane, so they had accompanied me. We went together and we had a wonderful, wonderful trip. Coming back, we decided to go through Santo Domingo. We stayed over, and the next day we decided that we would take the Mocha Road. Now, I know all of these words don't mean a lot to you if you've not been there before, but you can look them up. So we decided to travel over the Mocha Road to get home. We get to the top of the mountain, and we are turned around by the military because the road is washed out below. So back we go down towards Santo Domingo, and we decide, okay, we're gonna go home via Puerto Plata. Maybe not the best choice. There is another avenue. We didn't do that. So away we go. We're driving along, And right before we get to the Puerto Plata area, we're actually stopped again by the Army and we are rerouted. It's just a detour. So here we go. It's late now. It's about 8 o'clock at night, I believe. Probably actually 7. Driving along into the countryside. Now, you have to think about the fact that there's an awful lot of places in the Dominican Republic that GPS can't even figure out where you are. So here we go. There's not a lot of signage. 3 middle-aged Caucasian women, very little Spanish speaking, and now we are lost in the heart of the Dominican countryside. Okay, we're going through tiny little villages full of beautiful people, keep stopping and asking for directions, and some of these people, I'm pretty certain, have never been out of there themselves. If they have, they only knew the way out as per the way we came in. So they weren't able to help us. Plus, a lot of them did not speak English. They, were trying to help us with our small smattering of Spanish. Amazing, amazing experience in kindness. These people were so helpful, and they really did want to make sure that we got back safely to where we belonged. 4.5 hours later, we actually did come out about maybe a kilometer away from where we were rerouted. So yeah, that's a thing. Anyways, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that we could have had anything happen to us. 3 women alone in the dark, in the car, didn't get home till after midnight, flooding roads. I mean, even the fact that we could have had an accident probably we were just lucky in that regard. But the people were amazing and so supportive. So I want you to think about the fact that people are people no matter where they live, and they're not always out there with an agenda on how to get you, okay? They're full of honest, hardworking, kind people that are very generous and very giving. I also wanted to share with you a quick story. Michelle, she's our travel partner with Lucky and Love Travel, and she actually was just in Punta Cana a week ago. Time flies when you're having fun. So I had her actually put together something to do with her experience, because Michelle as well is a single woman who travels all over. She's been to Mexico, she's been to Dominican Republic, she's been to Cuba. She goes everywhere for her work. And I asked her if she felt uncomfortable or afraid at all when she was in Punta Cana, because she was in Punta Cana where all of these stories are coming from. And she actually sent me a little blurb about her experience, and I'll just read it for you. So she said, I recently returned from a trip to Punta Cana, and not once did I ever feel unsafe or threatened. I was out every day visiting numerous resorts, checking out fun activities and options for travelers to experience. I travel alone, and everyone I encountered was gracious and welcoming, from resort staff to tour operators and local transportation companies. The Dominican Republic is a beautiful destination, and everyone I met treated me with respect. They were very courteous and made me feel at home. Okay? So I know that Michelle makes her living, as I do, in the Dominican Republic, or selling into the Dominican Republic. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for joining us. So you could easily say we have an agenda, right? But why would we want to send people someplace where we know they wouldn't be safe? I mean, we have to sleep at night. We are human beings. We wouldn't make more money if our clients were dying because they went to our locations. So it doesn't make any sense, right? So what I'm asking and I'm charging you with is just please make up your own mind, okay? Listen to all the stories. Watch the news, read all of the Facebook and Twitter and all the social media information, and then stop and think for yourself. Don't take it at face value. Stop and think, does this make sense? Okay? Use your mind. Question everything. Question everyone's intent, including my own. It has to make sense to you. There's some things that I will tell you about that I think make perfectly good sense, and I tell all of my clients this information. You will run into trouble no matter where you travel, including in your own hometown, if there's certain things that you're up to, okay? So I always say to clients, just don't participate in risky behavior no matter where you are, even in your own hometown, okay? If you are looking to buy into prostitution, or you're in the prostitution business in some way, I'm sorry, it's a risky behavior. I'm not condemning it and I'm not judging. I'm just saying It is what it is, and a certain type of environment seems to come in that world. Drugs. If you are buying drugs, illegal drugs, or selling them, this is just another situation where bad things can happen to you. So think about that. Don't participate in illegal activities. If you know the laws in your country that you're traveling to, follow them. If you're unsure, ask. Find out from your travel advisor. I know Michelle would be able to help you out. Make sure that you're not participating in illegal activities, okay? Govern yourself well. It's a holiday. I get that. It's a celebration if you're coming for a wedding or an event of some sort. But think about this. If you got so drunk that you could hardly stand up, you don't know where you are, and you are out and about, even in your own home community right now, is there a good chance that something can happen to you? Possibly. It's not safe to be out of control anywhere in the world. So make sure that when you go on vacation, you have an amazing time. I'm not saying don't have fun. I'm saying have a ton of fun, but stay lucid enough and capable enough to be able to be aware of what's going on around you and handle yourself in any situation, okay? Don't flash your money and your luxuries around. If you have beautiful jewelry, congratulations. I think that's wonderful. Wear it to your special occasion. But when you're just going out shopping, remember that these are poor countries. These people don't have a lot. So you could be making yourself a target. I'm not saying you are, but if you flash what you have around, you could be a target. You're pretty much also kind of ignorant, because it's mean to push in the face of people that have and not what you have, okay? There's just not any necessary reason to do that. So think about that when you're going out. Don't believe that you're 100% safe anywhere, okay? Whether it's on a resort, in another country, or even walking down the street in your hometown. If you believe that you're 100% safe everywhere that you go or anywhere that you go, you're wrong, okay? Bad things happen to people everywhere in the world. So always make sure that you're just aware of your surroundings and what's happening. Just use common sense. It is just that easy. Don't bury your head in the sand and say, oh, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with my town. My town is perfect. Nothing bad ever happens in my town. If it does happen, it's because people deserved it. That's wrong. And it's also wrong to do that in a country. I do talk to an awful lot of the people that live in the Dominican Republic. And again, I know that the thought on social media is, this is paradise and bad things happen everywhere. It is paradise and bad things do happen everywhere. But when we live in a society that says that there's nothing wrong, even though we are being faced to look at some things that are creating issues, then we become a part of the problem. So make sure that you just be aware, and most importantly, judge for yourself. Make up your own mind. Think things through. Question everything. And I highly recommend you come and visit the Dominican Republic, because you will be so happy that you did. And I can't guarantee your safety, but I feel really confident in assuring you that you will probably be just fine, and you will have a wonderful, wonderful trip. So I don't know if that helped anybody. I feel better just being able to put it out there. If you have questions or concerns, you want answers, I'm not the person to ask the questions to, because as I said, I'm not an authority. I'm just a person with a pleasant and wonderful experience, the Dominican Republic and my trips there. And I hope that you have the same type of experience when you visit us in the Dominican Republic. So hi, Natalie. Thanks for joining us. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I know this went on a little bit long. Stay tuned for us for next week, because I think we're going to do something similar, and maybe see about a couple of other points as well in some of our other locations. So have a great day. Happy Wedding Wednesday. Take care, everyone. Talk soon.